Why you giving me the face?
What?
What's your problem?
What?
Why you giving me the finger?
The video shows an officer driving a car, but suddenly he stops because of a teen who showed him the middle finger. So what did he do actually? Why did the boy take part in such behavior? Stay tuned to the video till the end to find out.
Why you giving me the finger? What's your problem?
Am I free to go?
No.
What, do you have a problem?
No.
Do you have a problem?
No.
Well, I have a problem, then I can leave.
Why you giving me the finger when you're walking?
The officer gets out of the car and asks the boy exactly what is his problem. Why are you giving me the middle finger? But the boy does not react directly and instead asks whether he is free to leave. The officer refuses to let him go and questions him again about why he gave him the middle finger.
Huh? Come here. Get over here.
What?
Get over here.
Is that a lawful order?
Yeah.
For what reason?
Because you're giving me the finger.
The cop asks the boy again to come over. The boy asks him if it is a legal order, but he doesn't understand why. The officer then tells him that it is against the law for him to give the officer the finger, but the boy says that's not true. According to the law, Mr. Walker's use of the middle finger was protected speech, and he could not be arrested for making the gesture at corporal pitch.
Whatever.
You.
What?
You heard me. What,
Come here.
I'm afraid of you?
Come here. Get over here.
What?
Get over here.
The officer lets him go, but as the boy walks off, he again says something disrespectful to the officer.
Get over here.
I'm not doing anything illegal.
Yeah, you are. You just cursed me off.
That's not a crime.
Yes, it is.
The cop tells the boy to come over here when he calls him back. The boy then says, I'm not breaking the law, but the cop says it is against the law because he cursed at him. The argument between the boy and the officer carries on until this happened.
Help!
No help.
Help! Help!
No.
Help!
When Mr. Walker begins screaming for help, the officer grabs him and puts his hands behind his back. Corporal Pritch turns his body-worn camera off and doesn't turn it back on until backup comes. It is obvious that the officer's actions, including turning off the body-worn camera, violated both state law and the Attorney General's policy.
It is legal. He's allowed to detain you until he performs his
So what am I
investigation.
doing, though? What am I doing that made him detain me? What legal
Every
right?
time I rode by him twice, he shot me the finger. So I turned around and said, "Well, you're
Is that a crime?
problem?"
The other officer arrives and says it's legal to detain the boy, but the boy is still arguing that it is not a crime. So the first officer explains that he has shown the middle finger twice.
He's looking at you because he's like, what the fuck you want me to do? Because it's not a crime. I know my rights.
Who are you?
I don't have to say any of that.
You do if you're being detained.
For what reason?
What?
The boy then asks the officers who have just come, what's the legal reason I'm being held? Where is this coming from? And what's the legal reason? Michael James LaMontagne arrives on the scene and informs the boy is required to identify himself because he is being detained despite the fact that he cannot provide a legal justification for the detention. However, New Jersey lacks a stop and identify statute that specifically requires Mr. Walker to identify himself, and courts have determined that New Jersey's obstruction statute cannot be applied to individuals who refuse to identify themselves to police.
Why are you shooting me the finger? Why are you...
Is that illegal?
Why are
Cursing
you
at
flipping the bird? Yes, it is. When you are cursing in public, you are causing a public disturbance. You're being a nuisance to the public.
The second officer asserts that the boy must identify himself. The officer goes on to explain that it is forbidden to curse in public because you're causing a public disturbance and being a nuisance to the public. In what way? When he was driving by. It's called calls from a public disturbance, and it doesn't mean you've been charged with anything. You're being detained at that point.
What reason does he need to detain me?
He thought maybe he thought you were signaling him down. Were you signaling to him?
No,
Listen, I was-
no, you knew very well that I wasn't signaling to you, right? I wasn't signaling to you.
You bring attention to yourself.
That's not signaling.
You're acting strange. I'm making sure you're okay.
Dude, that's so funny. Like, you're not here for my safety. You're not trying to protect
How
me.
do you know?
You're walking
may
on the
be-
side of the road and you're cursing and you're flipping the bird.
The boy asks again for what reason he's being detained, and they all start arguing.
Do you know him? Do you know him?
It's not your business. I
It is
plead
my
the fifth.
business.
I plead the fifth then.
Yeah, well, it's
What's
your
the First
public
Amendment for?
Okay. The First Amendment is for your freedom of speech. Okay.
Okay.
What does that have to do with
Was I
using
making a call to
gestures?
action?
Do
Am I
you-
calling for an action to be done against you?
Do
No.
you understand
You're
that it
bringing
is...
attention to
Listen,
yourself to get
listen,
invested.
listen.
That's illegal.
It's...
The boy asks for his First Amendment, and the officer explains it.
So
Well,
don't
I-
legally need to hold anything in court.
Well, I want to know from your perspective.
I
What was I
pulled up
doing?
onto the scene, so you tell me what you were doing.
To bring your attention to
I
yourself.
plead the fifth. You idiot. How long have you been a cop? 6?
Longer than you.
Listen,
Longer than you, I'm not a cop.
I don't understand what the point of this is.
The boy asks for the perspective of another cop.
Now what happens?
He just admitted that
now
he
what
was going
happens
to
is when
arrest
he
me.
gives you a lawful order to stop, and you do
It
not
wasn't a
stop.
lawful order, though.
And you do not
It
stop.
legally was not a lawful
and you
order.
do not stop, then that becomes a criminal offense, and then yes, you can be put under
But
arrest.
it's not a lawful order. Then I take it to court, and then he'd get sued, and I get
Maybe.
punitive damages. I'd be rich. Is that what you want?
That
You don't know the law,
may
buddy.
be what happens.
You don't know
if
the
you
law.
think that's gonna happen.
The boy laughs at what the officer says and then says he just admitted he gives you a lawful order to stop and you don't do it. It wasn't all Florida, though, and you do it legally. That becomes a criminal offense, and then yes, you can be put under, but it's not a lawful order. Then I take it to court, and then he gets sued, and I get millions in damages. I'd be rich, is what you wanted. The officer stated that the Fourth Amendment was not violated in this case since no seizure happened. Mr. Walker, the boy, was not arrested. However, as the Supreme Court explained in the infamous 1968 decision of Terry v. Ohio, the Fourth Amendment guarantees the right of the people to be safe in their persons, homes, papers, or belongings against unreasonable searches and seizures. However, it is clear that Mr. Walker was captured when Corporal Pritch, the officer, made physical contact with him in order to prevent him from fleeing. However, it is also quite likely that a judge would determine that Mr. Walker was detained for Fourth Amendment purposes when Corporal Pritch first ordered him to stop and he accepted.
That may be what's going to happen. It may not be what happens. Okay.
Okay, I
What
understand.
may happen is,
All right, so what are we wasting time for?
jury.
Am I free to go?
What
Am I
may
free to
happen
go?
is you may
Am
get
I
a
free to
normal
go?
jury. No, because at this point
For what reason?
you were detained. Okay, because he told you to stop
Okay.
and you didn't stop.
Okay.
So therefore, you need to identify yourself as a part of the investigation. So what is your name?
Okay, I'm gonna need all of your badge numbers.
I will give you everything written down on a card. What is your
I
name?
could give you.
If you have an ID, that's perfect.
Am I okay? I'll take it to court
If you have
because
an
this
ID,
is
that's
still
perfect.
this is still a detainment.
Are you a juvenile?
This is an illegal detainment.
Are you
so
a
I can
juvenile?
I'm not going to answer that.
The teenager asks if he is free to leave, but the officer says no because he is detained. He must identify himself as a participant in the investigation. The boy becomes more aware of his surroundings and informs them that he intends to take off all the badge numbers. The officer responds that everything will be written down on a card, but the boy believes it is still entertaining.
Okay?
Well, I'm going to
And
take
you
a
can do
lawsuit.
that.
So who would I press criminal charges against?
For what? You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to
police
call. You're gonna have to call and
For
figure
what?
that out with a lawyer. You would have
Yeah.
to file a complaint with the courts.
Got it.
Okay, and then you can go from there if you want to see if you can press charges and whatnot if
Perfect.
you're violating your rights.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Stay
All
out
right,
of the
am I free to
roadway.
go?
Don't give us fingers.
Shut the up.
Stay out of the roadway. Stop causing a public alarm.
Dude, shut the up. Am I free
Stop
to go?
cursing, okay?
Well, I'm going to
And
take
you
a
can do
lawsuit.
that.
So who would I press criminal charges against?
For what? You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to
police
call.
officer.
You're gonna have to call and figure that out with a lawyer.
The boy asks the lawyer to prove them wrong legally about how he was making a disturbance. The officer tells them that for further investigation, he'll have to call and talk to a lawyer about that. If your rights have been violated, you have to make a complaint with the courts. From there, you can decide if you want to press charges or do other things.
Am I
You're free to go.
Stop cursing. Go.
You're free to.
When the officers let him go free, Mr. Walker left from there without causing any further incident. After the incident, less information was known, so we don't know what they did as per the investigation. In September 2014, a concerning incident unfolded during a police accountability march in Lynn, Massachusetts, shedding light on officers allegedly breaking the law while being captured on camera. The incident was documented by Ms. Bay, the founder of the Bay State Examiner, an independent media source focused on police interactions and accountability. While attending the march, Ms. Bay noticed an undercover police officer trailing the protest in an unmarked vehicle. Seeking accountability, she approached the officer to request his name and badge number. In a startling turn of events, the officer reportedly hit her with his vehicle.
Howdy. Sorry to bother again. Oh, hey.
Can I have your IDs?
Uh,
You guys fine, right? Both of IDs. Pardon me? I need both your IDs.
What's the lawful reason for the request?
Because you're on private property.
I'm on private property and you get to see my
In the
Okay.
back lot. You were on private property. You asked you need to take your time. I need your IDs. IDs?
can I have yours?
I don't have one on me.
No. Okay.
Well, go to the chief. We are.
Sure.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Can we speak to the chief? This officer has invited us to speak with him.
This incident prompted Miss Bay to take matters into her own hands. Days later, Miss Bay ventured to the Lynn police station's back lot in pursuit of evidence regarding the vehicle that had allegedly struck her. Her efforts were met with resistance from an unidentified officer who swiftly expelled her from the premises. Undeterred, she entered the police department building to file a formal complaint about the incident and to seek officer identifications. The encounter within the police station would go on to raise a myriad of legal and ethical concerns. The situation escalated when the officers on duty refused to identify themselves and labeled Miss Bay's presence as trespassing on private property. Massachusetts law, however, stipulates that police officers are required to carry identification cards and display them upon a lawful request. This refusal constituted a violation of this legal obligation.
You're welcome
What
to go
signs?
back there and take a look after.
Okay. Oh, after? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right.
But we need your IDs now.
I'm not interested in showing that at this time.
No?
I'm not. Yeah.
All right, so you guys are refusing? All right, then we'll just leave. Then you can go. Do we want to check the...
Yeah, I was gonna say, you've invited us to speak with the
Chief's
chief.
a busy guy.
Oh.
You just suggested we talk to the chief.
Well,
Yeah, but I guess apparently he's
you-
not...
I'm sorry,
He
what's...
just told you to do that, right?
No, you told us to talk to the chief.
Yeah, and you came around here and he's not coming down here.
Oh, right.
So maybe you should call him
Call
and
the
make an appointment with him.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay. We can do that.
And may I have both of your names and ID
the
cards?
time.
It's badge 88.
Badge 88.
Badge 88?
Yep.
The officers ordered Miss Bay to vacate the premises, accusing her of creating a disturbance and trespassing. In response, she asserted her right to continue recording for news-gathering purposes. A crucial distinction emerged. While Massachusetts acknowledges the right to record police, this right is not absolute and must adhere to reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions that safeguard officer safety, informants, and victims. The incident also underscored the nuanced relationship between the First Amendment and trespassing laws. While Miss Bay's intent to file a complaint justified her presence to some extent, officers claimed she was trespassing and sought to remove her from the building. Legal precedents highlighted the complexity of these issues, including the right to record police versus the limitations imposed on such activities within police stations.
Not with you. Who do I make a complaint with?
The chief's the best guy.
The chief's the best guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So make an appointment.
Okay.
What's up with that? What is it that you're looking for?
Well, I found the car that hit me on Friday. I was reporting it earlier. It's out back.
Okay, and what are you doing going in private property videotaping police cars?
What private property?
The property that's parked out back there posted as no trespassing, authorized personnel only.
I didn't see that.
Well, it's posted all over the entrances to that parking lot.
Interesting.
It is interesting, but it is also posted.
Okay.
You're subject to arrest for going back into private property.
Am I being
Videotaping
arrested?
police cars. Huh?
Am I being
I
arrested?
said you are subject to arrest.
Okay.
Despite these legal complexities, officers' conduct raised questions about their intentions and commitment to accountability. Their refusal to take Ms. Bay's claims seriously and their hindrance of her ability to file a complaint cast doubts on their willingness to engage transparently with civilian concerns. The encounter raised concerns about the potential misuse of laws to deter individuals from lodging complaints against law enforcement officers. In the aftermath of the incident, Ms. Bay submitted a Freedom of Information Act request to the Lynn's Record Department.
The officer in charge will be out with you when he gets a second.
Okay.
Talk to you and get your complaint.
Well, somebody does need to tell
Okay.
him that that's what's going
Well,
on.
if he's already done that, then your complaint has been filed and documented.
There's information that he literally doesn't have because I didn't have it until right now. When I went back, I found the car. So I would like to tell him that the car is back there, that it's been repaired, even though they didn't report it, I guess. Well, you know what, actually, I'm filming this for news gathering purposes at this point.
Yet her efforts were met with resistance, and it remains uncertain whether the department ever responded to her request. Her documentation of the event and her subsequent efforts to highlight the challenges faced by citizens seeking accountability and transparency within law enforcement agencies. Now let's move on to the next investigation. In a noteworthy incident that unfolded on June 5, 2015, the spotlight fell on Michael Hoffman, a private investigator and an advocate for the First Amendment. The scenario took place in Jacksonville, Florida, as Hoffman engaged in conducting surveillance as part of a case. His objective was to track down an individual's movements and actions across multiple locations. However, the situation took an unexpected turn when the person under surveillance alleged that Hoffman was stalking her.
Investigator, I'm some sort.
Can I ask why you pulled me over, sir?
I pulled you over because the young ladies came over there and said you've been following her since she left the airport yesterday. So I want to know who you are.
Have I committed a crime?
No, but I'm conducting an investigation. Have you been following that young lady? I mean, if you're an investigator, investigate away. But if you're somebody harassing her or stalking her, that's against the law. Me pulling you over to find out who you are is me doing my job.
Am I free to go?
No, you are not. Not until I find out who you are. I'm conducting an investigation. Do you have your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance on you?
Have you pulled me for a traffic violation, sir?
No, sir, I've already explained that to you. Now you can play the back and forth rigmarole.
This accusation prompted a response from law enforcement, specifically an officer from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. The encounter between Hoffman and the officer was marked by a clash of rights and principles. As the officer initiated a traffic stop, the interaction was captured on camera and later disseminated on the Awakening the Masses YouTube channel. The video depicted the exchange as the officer sought to ascertain the veracity of the stalking claim. He engaged Hoffman in conversation, asking about his identity, purpose, and whether he was an investigator. Hoffman's response was calculated and assertive. He began by asking the officer the reason for pulling him over, which initiated a dialogue regarding the stalking allegation. The officer cited the complainant's assertion that Hoffman had been tailing her since previous day. Despite Hoffman's protestations, the officer deemed it necessary to investigate the matter. He explained that his actions were guided by the need to ascertain whether Hoffman was involved in harassing or stalking behavior, which is legally prohibited.
Oh, tell him to come up here. We're at the 8100 block of Arlington Express.
I don't answer questions, Deputy.
You don't answer questions. You just stalk young lady. Just stand by this. Stand by.
Your name and badge number, Deputy? Your name and badge number, Deputy?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Name and badge number, sir?
Simpson 66190.
Masinsin, M-A-S-I-N-S-I-N. Sir, I'd like to know why I'm being detained.
No, someone's saying that you're claiming you're stalking her. What is that? Are you an investigator or anything?
Okay, let me make this clear, sir. I would like for you to articulate what crime you...
The crux of the disagreement hinged on the rights invoked by Hoffman. When the officer requested identification, Hoffman invoked his Fifth Amendment rights, a constitutional privilege against self-incrimination. This assertion caused a pivotal shift in the interaction, as Hoffman insisted he would only speak in the presence of legal counsel. The officer, seemingly perplexed by this response, requested that Hoffman bring his attorney to the scene for further questioning. Hoffman's stance was rooted in legal principles. He argued that during a Terry stop, law enforcement could pose a limited number of questions to establish identity and to determine if any suspicions were valid. However, Hoffman remained steadfast in asserting that he was under no obligation to answer questions without the presence of legal representation, especially considering the potential implications of his responses. The officer's actions were grounded in the assumption that a stalking accusation, combined with a corroborated vehicle description, constituted reasonable suspicion for a stop and investigation. This view aligned with legal precedent, exemplified by the 2002 case of United States v. Sokolow, which allows law enforcement to act on a tip if it bears indicia of reliability. The Supreme Court has ruled that reasonable suspicion necessitates a particularized and objective basis for suspecting wrongdoing. Despite the differing interpretations, the encounter eventually concluded with the officer permitting Hoffman to leave. The tension between rights and responsibilities underscored the complexity of police-citizen interactions.
Some professional courtesy and treat me with the respect I deserve. What is your name and badge number?
Well, I gave you mine. 0051.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Deputy. Was that so hard?
No.
The law states I don't have to give my name and information unless you suspect me of committing a crime.
You don't.
Then am I free to go? Because this is an illegal detainment.
At this time.
This is an illegal detainment.
But like I said, your criminal description we were given.
I respect
doesn't
that.
mean
I respect
you're guilty.
That. I respect that. You're talking to an ex-law enforcement officer here, buddy. Now, I understand you're doing no fault with that. You are doing your job.
Okay.
And the mere fact that I'm exercising my legal rights does not make...
Shedding light on the importance of understanding legal rights during such encounters. Hoffman's case emphasized that individuals have the right to remain silent and request legal counsel during a Terry stop, while officers must balance their duty to investigate with the requirement to respect constitutional rights. The incident became a case study in navigating the delicate balance between law enforcement's duty to investigate and an individual's rights to privacy and legal protection. As the video disseminated, it sparked discussions about the scope of police authority during stops, the validity of accusations, and the intricacies of the Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination. Michael Hoffman's assertiveness in upholding his rights and the officer's attempts to fulfill his duty encapsulated a pivotal moment in the ongoing dialogue about law enforcement practices and individual freedoms. Now let's take a look at the next investigation. In April 2020, a situation involving Keelan Hill and Denver police officers unfolded after a minor traffic incident on Interstate 25 in Colorado. The incident escalated into legal disputes, allegations of rights violations, and concerns over police conduct. The episode began when Keelan Hill, age 25, called 911 after a minor collision with two other drivers. Officer Thomas Ludwig of the Denver Police Department arrived at the scene and initiated discussions with the other individuals involved while Hill was being evaluated by paramedics inside an ambulance. The situation took a turn when Hill exited the ambulance and noticed Officer Ludwig searching his vehicle without consent.
What are you doing? Stepping to me? Huh? What the f*** is in my face? What the f*** so, dude? What is this? Oh, what am I? What the?
What are you stopping the cops for, man?
I did not ask you to get out of my car.
No, I watched you. I got you on my video camera.
I asked you to get out of my car. That's it.
You're being an to everybody.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
So, nigga. Oh. It's right to work, brother. Ow. I'm trying to get my up. Money. What did happen? No, I come out here too, huh? Wow.
No probation. I'm sure
I'm not on probation.
The probation officer's gonna love that.
I'm not on probation at all.
The officer claimed he detected the odor of marijuana, implying that this gave him the authority to conduct the search. The legality of such searches based on marijuana odor varies across states, and in Colorado, where recreational marijuana is legal, the odor can contribute to probable cause for a search. However, legal nuances exist. Hill confronted Officer Ludwig about the search, leading to a heated argument. The officer's aggressive response escalated the tension instead of employing de-escalation techniques. While Hill's behavior might have prompted concern, it's questionable whether it warranted the officer's level of aggression. Hill was arrested and charged with interference with police activity. These charges were later dropped, but the incident spurred Hill to file a lawsuit against the city of Denver and the involved officers.
It's like feet in there. I'm not intoxicated at all.
No, go ahead and have a seat in there.
Go for it. Please go for it.
Okay, have a seat.
Y'all are illegally searching my car.
Have a seat. Have a seat. Put your feet up.
ID, bro.
Push yourself all the way back.
Hold.
He alleged violations of his First and Fourth Amendment rights and claimed damages, including missing a master's degree final exam due to his incarceration. Critiques of the officer's conduct centered on several points. Firstly, despite the possible legality of the initial search, the decision to arrest Hill was deemed unnecessary and potentially unconstitutional. Officer Ludwig's unprofessional behavior, particularly his failure to de-escalate the situation, garnered criticism. His confrontational approach escalated the disagreement rather than diffusing it, highlighting the significance of emotional awareness in police interactions. Moreover, the officers faced criticism for their response to Hill's request for medical assistance. According to the Denver Police Department's Operation Manual, officers are required to provide medical attention to individuals in custody. Hill's expression of uncertainty about his injury should have prompted a more compassionate response from the officers, as opposed to the callous indifference displayed. This incident underscores the complexities of police interactions and the importance of effective de-escalation techniques. While the legality of certain actions can be ambiguous, officers should prioritize public safety and citizens' rights. Emotions and situational awareness play crucial roles in determining the outcome of such encounters.